Dangerous Obsession. Episode 2. Black Roses Don't Lie. The roses sat on her windowsill for 3 days before her father said anything. Zara had been waiting. She knew him well enough to know that silence wasn't acceptance, it was calculation. Zara Malik didn't react to things. He responded to them, carefully, after he turned them over completely in his mind and decided on the best angle of approach. On the morning of the fourth day he appeared in her doorway, coffee in hand, eyes on the roses. "You kept them," he said. "They're beautiful. They're a message." "I know." She didn't look up from her book. "What kind of message?" Her father was quiet for a moment. "The kind that means he's already decided something." He set his coffee down. "Dante Volkov doesn't send flowers, Zara. In 20 years of knowing his name I have never once heard of him sending flowers to anyone. Maybe he's romantic." "He's not romantic." Her father's voice was flat. "He's strategic. Everything he does means something. Those roses mean he's thinking about you. Specifically. Deliberately." A pause. "That is not a comfortable thing for me to know." Zara finally looked up. Her father looked older in the morning light than he did at his parties. The careful armor of confidence he wore in public was less polished here, she could see the tiredness underneath it. "The worry. I didn't do anything," she said quietly. "I know you didn't." He picked up his coffee again. "He's coming here on Friday. Business meeting. I couldn't refuse." His eyes met hers. "I need you to be out." "Baba. Out, Zara. Shopping, lunch, visiting someone, I don't care. I need you away from this house when he's in it." She looked at him for a long moment. Read the thing underneath the words, not just concern. Something closer to fear. And Zara Malik was not a man who feared easily. "Okay," she said. He nodded. Looked at the roses one more time. Left without saying anything else. Zara looked back at her book. Read the same sentence 4 times without absorbing it. He's already decided something. She pressed her fingers lightly against the petal of the nearest rose. Dark as dried blood. Perfect and cold. What exactly, she thought, has he decided? Friday came. She left at 10 in the morning as promised, dressed simply, hair down, nothing that looked like effort. Told her father's housekeeper she'd be back for dinner. Took a car to the city center and wandered through a bookshop for an hour, bought 2 novels she probably wouldn't read, had coffee at a corner table and watched the street outside with the particular restlessness of someone whose mind was somewhere else entirely. She was back by noon. She knew it was a bad idea. She made the decision anyway, the way she made most of her questionable decisions, quickly, before the sensible part of her brain could form a proper objection. The meeting was in her father's study. She could hear voices as she came in through the side entrance, low, even, professional. She left her bag in the hallway and moved toward the kitchen, which shared a wall with the study and had, if you stood in the right corner near the old bookshelf, surprisingly good acoustics. She was not proud of this. She stood in the corner anyway. Her father's voice. 2 other men she didn't recognize. And then, underneath the others, anchoring the conversation the way a low note anchored music, Dante's voice. Even through a wall it did something to her pulse that she found deeply inconvenient. She couldn't make out specific words. Just tone. The meeting was formal, transactional, the careful language of men discussing large amounts of money and pretending it was ordinary commerce. It lasted 40 minutes. She heard chairs, movement, the sounds of a meeting. Concluding. Then her father's voice, closer to the door, "I'll have my people send the documentation by Monday." "Good. Dante." Closer now. "One more thing." A pause. "Your daughter." Zara's breath stopped. "She's not here today," her father said. Carefully. "I noticed." A beat. "You told her to leave." It wasn't a question. Her father said nothing. Chasm. Dante's voice was even, unhurried. The voice of a man who had all the time in the world and intended to use it. "I have a great deal of respect for you. Our business relationship has been mutually beneficial for years. I have no interest in damaging that." A pause that lasted exactly long enough to make the next words land harder. "But I will see your daughter again. With your blessing or without it. I'd prefer the former." The silence that followed was the loudest thing Zara had ever heard. She's 25, her father said finally. She's not part of any deal. I'm not making a deal. Something shifted in Dante's voice, still controlled, still even, but underneath it something rawer. Something that didn't sound calculated at all. I'm telling you what I want. I haven't wanted something this specific in a very long time. Another pause. Think about it. Footsteps. The front door. Silence. Zara stood in the kitchen corner for a full minute without moving. I haven't wanted something this specific in a very long time. Her heart was doing something complicated and inconvenient, and she pressed her hand flat against the cold kitchen wall and breathed through it slowly. He knew she'd left because of him. He knew her father had sent her away. And he had walked into that study, concluded his business, and then calmly, directly, without any pretense whatsoever. He had told her father he was coming for her. Not threateningly. Not as a demand. Just as a fact. The way he'd said I'll see you again at the party, like it was already true, like the only question was the details. She heard her father's footsteps in the hallway. Slow. Heavy. She slipped out of the kitchen corner and was sitting at the kitchen table with her book open when he appeared in the doorway. He looked at her. She looked at him. You came back early, he said. I got bored. A long pause. His eyes said he didn't believe her. His mouth said nothing about it. Zara. He sat down across from her. Set his hands on the table, the gesture he used when he was about to say something he'd been preparing. Dante Volkov is not a man you can manage. You understand that. You're clever. You're capable. You handle yourself well in difficult rooms. But he is something different. He looked at her steadily. He doesn't get distracted. He doesn't get redirected. When he decides he wants something, he gets it, she finished. He gets it. Her father's jaw tightened. He asked about you. Formally. In the context of, he stopped. Started again. He wants to see you. Properly. He used the word see. What did you say? Her father looked at her for a long moment. I said I'd think about it. His voice was quiet. Because saying no to Dante Volkov requires a very good reason and an even better exit strategy, and I currently have neither. He stood. I also said that whatever happened, it would be your choice. Entirely. He left the kitchen. Zara sat alone with her book open to a page she hadn't read. Outside the window the city moved on, indifferent. Somewhere across it, in whatever cold and expensive world Dante Volkov occupied, he was, what? Working. She tried to imagine it and couldn't. Couldn't place him in an ordinary moment. Couldn't make him mundane. She thought about his voice through the wall. I haven't wanted something this specific in a very long time. She closed her book. The message came that evening. Not flowers this time. A single card, cream-colored, heavy stock, delivered by a man in a black car who handed it to the housekeeper without a word. Her name on the front. Just Zara. In handwriting that was precise and unhurried, like everything else about him. Inside. Dinner. Saturday. I'll send a car at 8. You don't have to come. But I think you will. D. Zara read it twice. Then she laughed, a short, genuine, helpless laugh, because the absolute confidence of it was so outrageous it looped back around to being almost charming. I think you will. No question. No plea. Just that calm, steady certainty that she was beginning to recognize as simply the way he moved through the world. Like gravity. Like weather. Like something that didn't need to announce itself because it was simply always there. She set the card on her windowsill next to the roses. Sat on the edge of her bed. Argued with herself for approximately 4 minutes. Then she went to her wardrobe and started thinking about what to wear on Saturday. She told herself it was curiosity. She was almost convinced.